Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature and Christine Riccio. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And this is part 4 of a 5-part series?
It's too many parts at this point, but you are correct. This is 4 out of 5, pages 269 through the conclusion of Again But Better by Christine Riccio. And that's good to say it's over. It was a long time coming.
Yeah, we will. For those of you who are here for the first time, we will be back next week with a full review of the novel. And if this is something that you enjoy, we do this at least once a month with a different novel, a read-along and a review of the process. So if you are here and you are not subscribed, but you enjoy this process, maybe not what we have to say about this novel, but in general, we try to do this quite often.
I'm glad you actually distinguish this process, because I thought you were going to say, if you enjoy this kind of thing, I'm like, well, you're probably in the wrong place at this point, because oof.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I removed the sleeve from my book so that I could read it in public, and this is bread, again, with butter.
Okay.
It's toast with butter. It's bread, again, with butter.
Okay, then. So that's how we're starting this
That's
week.
how we're starting. I don't know what toast... Did I miss something? Does toast have something to do with this novel?
Not a damn thing. I don't even think toast is mentioned at any point. So, it fits on par with the writing. It works. There's nothing relevant.
Yeah, so tell us what happened, Salty.
269 through the conclusion of this novel, Shane continues to groom Pilot into being her lover, and they finally consummate their Stockholm Syndrome relationship, but alas, Pilot never actually left Amy, and he is indeed the bad guy because he only sent her a message. So Shane buckles down and improves her life because he was just really ruining her anyway. But in the end, it all works out. She gets her way, and everyone lives happily ever after, exactly as Shane decrees it.
She gets her way, and she's right.
It's everything she could dream to have.
Yeah.
This... I'm going to save this for the review, but I need to get it out of my system. This is one of the worst books I've ever read. There is nothing redeeming about this book.
On a craft level, paragraph by paragraph, it is not all that poorly written. Can you concede that?
I will give you it has its moments. I actually marked one of these moments.
No, there's nothing good. There's no good moments. But you are never at a loss on the page for what is happening.
It's very simply written. It's easy to follow. And at one point...
And that's a trick. That's difficult to pull off.
It is. At one point, I even noted it down. Of course, I've lost it at this point. I'm like, oh, it's good to see, 250 pages into this, she decided to actually do some writing. It has its brief moments.
I think that's on page 250.
Is it? 250 exactly? Which is interesting because we didn't read that page this week, but it's fine. Overall, though, woof. This is rough.
Yeah, this was undoubtedly the worst part of the novel, I would say.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
No.
Okay.
That time travel, when it hit me, it pissed me off so much. It was so clunky and bad.
Here's what I will argue. With the time travel, when it hit, it pissed me off, but there was, in fact, potential there. There was a nascency in that moment that something could be innovative or corrective to the first half of the novel. Is that fair?
It didn't pan out that way, but okay.
No, it didn't. But this is where we ultimately find out that no, that sucks.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. So where do you want to start with this?
Page 270, just something funny. Pies, we've never really talked about our lives outside of study abroad. Is that weird? I felt like I knew you. I feel like you knew me. But did we? My eyebrows pulled together. That's a loaded question, he tilts his head. I watch, freely admiring how attractive he looks right now, because I'm allowed, because we're on a date. The tube lady's voice rings overhead. Mind the gap. His eyes focus on me. We knew each other. I guess I kept stuff about my life back home private because it just didn't come up. There were so many other things to discuss because everything was new. Do you know what the slang "mind the gap" means?
What is that?
The slang "mind the gap" is what one young man might say to another young man to remind him that he is supposed to keep his eyes on the prize with that hoo-ha. Mind the gap. So it is ironic that in this moment where she is coming to the revelation that they never really knew each other, they were just trying to sort of maybe get in each other's pants.
Mind the
That
gap.
mind the gap is said overhead. I would love to be able to credit this author with that, but I think instead it's just an inopportune time for the author to be unaware of something. Did you kill Animal?
Maybe something fell. But anyway, mind
That's
the
one of our
gap.
patrons, you son of a bitch.
Mind the gap, obviously, a quintessential English phrase. When you are on the train system in
Yeah.
there, you get that. So
Yeah.
there's a reason for it to be there. But yeah, I don't think it can be credited for
It would
that.
but it would be great to have that meta level going on. It would be great to be able to credit this author with understanding that meta level. I don't think that we can.
There's no reason that she has proven herself at this point that we could credit that to her.
Right.
What I got the most from this here, at this point we have kidnapped Pilot. We have taken him, and we are keeping him hostage. This is pretty much straight up Stockholm Syndrome. I'm going to keep grooming this man, who is my captive, until things are okay, until he accepts this. He is going to be with me. That's what we're looking at here. And it becomes a bit of a power play between the two of them, where no matter the situation, Shane must assert her dominance. Subtly and full bore. We get here, this is just conversation between the two of them. He scoffs 5-star Yelp review and no kiss at the end of the night. That just doesn't add up. Admit your surrender. He holds my gaze. I shrug and push off the floor to stand. He tugs back and I twist around, landing happily back on the bed. You win, he concedes. This is classic power play. Even at their most intimate moments, Shane must be in charge of him. Shane must be controlling of him because she is grooming this man to get what she wants. This is a little twisted, and it's not here to be twisted. She is again pushing this off as a cute, endearing type thing. This is romantic. This is how a relationship should be. No, this is criminal.
So there's that side of things, which is very much there if you're looking for it. The other side, and here's the thing. This text exists how it exists.
Okay.
And you can obviously read both of the interpretations, the interpretation you gave and the interpretation I'm about to give, into the text, because they are so palatably on the page. However, it is also criminally obvious neither of these interpretations were meant to be in the text. It is not like when you're reading one of Shakespeare's sonnets and you're given one of these alternative interpretations of them that you're like, holy shit, that's in there. That is weird and creepy that I could look right at the thing and never see that. These things are there more presently than the story which is presented.
Okay.
The alternative to your interpretation of that event is that this character is so squirrely and such a coward that she is not even able to stand up to the emotions which she has gone back in time to pursue.
Okay.
So she is still in those moments where even Pilot has said, you know what, screw it, let's give it a chance where we did not before. She is still unable to pursue that.
Interesting. I think there is also an interesting moment here. Throughout the entirety of this, they have had this agreement that they cannot push this button unless they both 100% agree upon it. Pilot clearly wanting to go back until he basically admits defeat and he realizes there's no out here, I'm stuck. But let me tell you though, the minute she changes her mind and she wants to go home, we're pushing that button. That's a hotcake right there.
Yeah, so it is also that same sort of double standard is represented when they go back to the club with Chad. Chad attempts to kiss Shane again. A jerk move, a creep thing to do, and she slaps the hell out of him. Right?
Okay.
Not really mad at her for doing that, right? Someone's trying to kiss you, absolutely.
Fair reaction.
And then, we get a little bit of a different response from Babe this time versus the first time. The first time, it was set up that, I was trying to get sweet on him, and he just wasn't having it. But I kept on it going. She tried to kiss Chad, and Chad's reaction was to try to kiss Shane to prove to Barbara, that they were still just friends. So when Babe is trying to coerce Chad into this whole relationship thing, it's not a bad thing. When Chad takes a similar response towards Shane to prove to Barbara, she slaps the hell out of him. What if Chad had slapped the hell out of Barbara? We'd have a different story again.
Of course we would. Absolutely. If Shane were a male protagonist in this story, we've said this whole time, this would have been a completely different novel because it would have ended 30 pages in.
If Shane is a male protagonist, we've got American Psycho all over again.
But not in a good way, and I don't even like American Psycho.
Yeah.
Now, there has been a little bit of a discussion in the comment section, I figured I would address this here, of young adult fiction versus this new genre of new adult fiction. Which is fine. New adult fiction is a budding thing. It is basically the response to YA. YA was so popular for such a big audience that now we're having very similar novels but with more adult themes. New adult fiction. However, I'm going to put this down right now. You cannot make this argument with this book. And do you know why?
I know exactly why.
Do you know why you can't make this argument with this book? Because right here on this lovely book, in the big old sticker, 90% of the promotion for this, the Barnes & Noble YA Book Club. This is not being marketed and distributed as new adult fiction. This is being marketed and distributed to young adult readers, which makes it even more concerning. Now, am I saying this is not this is acceptable if it's for an older audience? Absolutely not. But at least the older audience can make that decision for themselves. I feel the young adult audience is far more impressionable, and this is going to be pulled off as basically a cute little romantic love story, which it is not. This is a disturbing story.
Considering that is a story-level narrative, I wish you'd have saved that for the review, but since you brought it up, not only is this not marketed as new adult, it is not written as YA. One of the hallmarks of YA is the age of the protagonist. So, how old is Shane here?
20 years old.
And?
She's an adult.
27.
Oh, 20 and 27.
And 27.
Yes.
One of the hallmarks of new adult is sex. Sex happens in new adult. Sex does not happen in YA.
And we do get a new adult sex scene in this.
We do.
During this reading.
It is written in very cowardly fashion.
It is.
But it happens.
I read something once, though, it says, and this is a true fact, it is difficult to write a sex scene. Nobody wants to read it. You have to do it discreetly, and you have to do it well to make it work.
I think that the new adult genre is giving romance a run for its money.
You think so?
In the fact that, no, people do want to read that.
Well, I mean, look at 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, obviously there's a market.
There's a market.
However, if we are, again, selling this as a young adult book club book, that's a steamy scene, man. It's clunky, but it's steamy.
There is no reason for this to be sold as a young adult book other than the maturity of the writing that's gone into it.
It's fair. You could have just stopped as there's no reason this book to be sold, to be honest with you, but that's fine. We'll give you that.
I think that it is incredibly troubling that this is presented as YA. I think that, and so this week broke me. Again, but better. This week was the week that I just couldn't do all of the effort with this text because we have 365 pages of nothing, of garbage, of trash. It's all irredeemable, and the end is the worst. So I got a little salty, and to pull the drapes back a little bit on the production of the channel here, in order to keep up the production schedule that we do a read-along series for a book, and then the very final read-along series part of the book, we also film the review. So we're filming 2 videos for this today, and I'm going to be angry in the review as well because it's just this is so bad. This is so bad.
It's not good.
Go ahead.
One big moment here, again, just pointing out things that are just wrong with this reading, is we get the introduction of Leo as a homosexual character.
No, don't do that now. That's we need to talk about that in the review.
You want to wait for the review for that?
We need to talk about that in the review, because that is a meta-narrative of the novel that, just trust me, we need to talk about that next week.
We'll save it for next week.
There's enough bullshit to talk about in this section.
We'll save it for next week. So what bullshit would you like to talk about this week?
I'd like to talk about 272. We get this quote from Shane in an exchange with Pilot. I pursed my lips. I mean, I needed to get away, I guess, but at the time I was fixated on starting college over. Pilot tilts his head. What do you mean? Shane quotes, my roommates from freshman and sophomore year had gone ahead. You got that marked?
Exactly.
My roommates from freshman and sophomore year had gone ahead and booked a double without me for junior year. They were my closest friends at YU. I was left super alone in a single apartment, all sad and friendless. I was going home every weekend. I found the writing program on the Study Abroad site, and the rest is history. The very inciting incident for this novel was that no one liked Shane, so she ran from culpability and change. The very inciting incident of this novel was that Shane is such a despicable character on a social level, which, hey, I'm a despicable character on a social level. I'm able to own it. If you're going to be a despicable character on a social level, you have to be able to own it. You don't just get up and run away. That is what happened here. And it is, again, what happens when our main character is sent back in time. And it is, again, what happens when her parents show up and they get mad at her. Everything is, bad thing happens, run away.
It's not my fault.
And it's not your fault. And someone will forget eventually that it was your fault.
Yeah.
And then they'll agree that it wasn't your fault.
I found it more interesting, that little paragraph there. She's talking about, it being in college and everything, just being so sad and lonely and friendless, and she had to go home every weekend. I'm like, why didn't you study? Or I don't know, do something with your life.
Well, and we get the moment we get the moment where she has abandoned Pilot, and she is unsure what she's going to do.
Yes.
You've got a new lease on 6 years of life. You can relive that and do it again, but better. Again, with butter.
Okay, we're done with that. I do think it's interesting, though. One little point that I noticed in this, the moment when her and Pilot start this romantic relationship, it's actually a thing. It's everything she wanted. Oh boy, her job starts to suffer. She stops going. She shows up late.
She's not writing.
She's not writing. She's not doing anything. Which, if we're looking at the text here, what are we distinguishing? What are we setting up here? Shane's goal, I've said it from day one, is she wants to find a boyfriend. Because as soon as she finds the man she wants in her life, ambitions, goals, priorities out the window.
Everything goes to hell.
Absolutely so, because it's fine. Because Pilot will support her, I'm sure. It'll be perfectly fine. That's what Dad does.
Daddy did, yeah.
And is that really what... That seems to be the narrative of this novel. I'm going to run and hide and do what I want and cry and whine until I get my way, no matter what it takes, so I don't have to be a better person.
Even so, she puts in a month of hard work or whatever at the internship.
And they give her everything.
And she ends up with a job at 17 Magazine.
Yeah.
Or at least an interview with 17 Magazine. Not everything was handed to me. Just despicable. I mean, this is what I fear people... So there's this whole narrative about white privilege. This is how I fear people who throw around that term willy-nilly view the white experience. Dalton, how many things have you had handed to you in your life? Let me give you a short story. Let me give you just a real short story from my life. After graduating, with my undergraduate degree, my English literature degree, a bachelor's degree, for which I had sacrificed a great deal to be able to go off to college in the first place. Told that story thousands of times on the channel. If you want that story, go find that story on the channel. It's there someplace. But I didn't get to go off to college until I was 23. So 28-ish, 27-ish, I graduate. And two of my professors decided to allow me the opportunity to work at their estate. I was outside in 100-degree weather, scraping and painting a house for an entire summer, scraping with a 1-inch lathe, or with a 1-inch blade, 1.5-inch lathes of wood covered in lead paint. This, all summer, whatever, right? But I got this opportunity to do that. I go home, and there's one day where my roommates come home, and I'm basically weeping on the couch because they were paying me $15 an hour, which at that point was unheard of in my life. And I didn't do anything. I'd never done this type of work before. I felt just so gifted this opportunity. And my roommate says, what? And I said, I don't deserve this. I said, Adrian, you're covered in flakes of lead paint. Your skin is burnt to a crisp. You come home every day and lay about because you've spent 8 hours sweating. You were on a roof, which scares the hell out of you. You were 18 feet up on a ladder, which I didn't mind, but it's difficult. This was not a gift. This is manual labor. That is the experience for almost everyone on Earth, right?
Yeah.
This is not the experience for anyone but a very few.
Now, Adrian, to be fair, she made copies at her father's office one summer.
To be fair, she learned everyone's favorite cup of tea.
She did. She made them tea, Adrian, without them asking. She showed up for a month on time and sat
Late
and did
the first
nothing.
day. Late the first day.
But
But you know what? That's
no
fine.
big deal. That's clearly, she's ready to write for 17 magazine.
Yeah.
Absolutely so. That's a fine point,
To
though.
further point out this character's character, on 273, they're musing about this little hostel they're going to. We wouldn't want to get to room with that 40-year-old with a sleep apnea machine. This is your protagonist's character. Now, in the hands of an actual writer, this punchline 44-year-old with an illness goes on to lay some nugget of wisdom on these two young kids, right? It's a very ironic little thing that some authors will do. Riccio is not that author. This text contains not that wisdom. That 44-year-old with a sleep apnea machine is there to be the butt of jokes as a 44-year-old with sleep apnea.
Well, it's perfectly acceptable in her world to make fun of people less fortunate than her.
Right.
That's fine.
That is the character of the character we're working with here.
This was an interesting read. It was. And albeit, we said it from the beginning, maybe this is for someone. Maybe it is. I don't see why, nor can I understand why. Beyond the fact that we just want to support someone that we enjoy on BookTube.
Which is
Therefore, we
fine.
bought her book, which by all means do it. But from a literary standpoint, which is what we do here on Strip Cover Lit, we look at things from a literary standpoint. It's hot garbage. Absolutely so.
Yeah. Speaking of hot garbage, on 274, I'm going to read you an entire exchange here. We could play a game, I suggest. Are you going to wake them up, or should I? Pilot teases with a nod towards the far right corner. I snort. It's a game just for us. We don't need them. Pilot squints at me. I'm intrigued. Tell me more. The opposite game. I smile goofily. The opposite game? He repeats in an amused, ridiculous voice. Yeah, the opposite game. I hate the opposite game. He says in a fervently serious voice. I hate the opposite game too, I whisper. He smirks. I love this pillow. I love this pillow too. You're just taking all the opposite ideas. I win the game, he says. Yes, I win the game. Pilot snorts and I giggle deliriously. This isn't the opposite game, he retorts. This isn't the opposite game, I say cheekily. I like Brussels sprouts. I like lemons. I'm from the future. Ha! I beam, but you are from the future. I think that means I win. He falls on his back looking up at the ceiling now. I can see the white of his smile in the dark. I fall onto my back and look up at the ceiling as well. We lie there like that for a few minutes. This is what broke me. This is what broke me. 6 pages into this reading, this exchange is what broke me. This isn't the stuff that other writers edit out. This is the stuff that basic writers never even think to put in. This never occurs to anyone who has ever picked up a pen. Because there is a reason. Look, we're doing the Hot and Sticky Challenge here, and recently Steve Donahue made his announcement video where he relayed to me the idea, through his video, that writing in a country as free as the United States is a duty. You can say anything the hell you please. It is not your right, it is your duty to do so. Duty and responsibility are related.
Okay.
It is your responsibility, if you're picking up a pen, a pilot pen, to put something more worthwhile on a page than the dumbest conversation that you have with someone you sort of like. Fair. What is the impetus for this exchange to occur on a page?
And that's the thing. From a decent writer's standpoint, what a decent writer would do, and I'm not claiming to be a decent writer, I'm not even claiming to be a writer, but what a decent writer does is every word on the page is there for reason.
Or at least counts.
At least counts. It moves the story forward. It does something. It adds to it. It plants a seed for later. It does something. This is just filling a page. This proves to me that this book is not only poorly written, but was not really edited either. This book was just put on the shelf because, you know what? We're going to sell copies of it anyway.
But Dalton, it has deleted scenes. It must have been edited.
It must have been edited. I'm sure it was.
So, 285. What kind of stuff do you like, Shane? He asks, amused. Because, of course, he's amused. He's asking it, right?
Clearly.
Obviously, one would be amused asking a question as banal as, what kind of stuff do you like? Obviously lost. Juliet inspires me. Harry Potter always makes me happy. I love walls full of pictures. If I ever build my own house, I'm making a room just for pictures where I'll plaster them on every surface. Extreme photo albuming. I pause for a second. Black raspberry ice cream because it's delicious, but mostly because it's wonderful purple color and it doesn't taste just like grape. And I like when thunderstorms make the lights go out at night. And you're stuck in the house with your family using flashlights for hours. Everyone acts like it's the worst because it's such an inconvenience. And it is. But the bigger part of it gets me excited by the darkness, by the lack of technology, and the need for flashlights. It's the best way to gather everyone around a table to play cards. No one's distracted by anything, and you play by candlelight, and you watch the storm go through the big windows, but you stay away from the windows because you don't want to get electrocuted. I sigh, suddenly fighting off a wave of homesickness. The last time that actually happened, I was 16. 3 of us were at Uncle Dan and Aunt Maria's for dinner. A, the thunderstorm didn't kill your goddamn cell phone. B, this is, in essence, this entire novel, is it not?
Okay.
Which follows on 286, where she says, I've never met He says, I've never met someone as outwardly passionate about their favorite things as you. And she replies, well, things inspire me and make me happy and feel more understood. If I can give that to someone else by recommending things, I want to. The way he's watching me, I feel like I'm under a spotlight. I swallow. Yeah, we got that earlier.
Yeah.
Basically, this is her saying, I love you so much and you make me so comfortable with me that I really feel like I can tell you about all the TV shows I like.
It's important business.
That's how deep this character is. Which, here's the reason it's damning. We have to understand that this is how deep the author is, because the other characters fall in line with that. The other characters are in awe at Shane's passionate about the things that she likes. And Pilot falls in love with her because she likes Lost so much.
It's romantic, Adrian. It's a big deal. Clearly, that's what we're getting at here.
You're going to need to convince me.
I'm not going to convince you of anything. It's not like garbage. There's nothing good in this. And the character of Shane constantly contradicts herself throughout the novel. At this point, 294, we are well into this story. She has already abducted Pilot. She has held him captive and basically forced him into loving her. And she says to Chad, "Step away, asshole. You've seen me with Pilot literally all weekend. And you're here with Babe. You don't get a douche kebab pass because it's your birthday." Really? Aren't you engaged? Isn't he about to be engaged? Isn't he in a long-term committed relationship? I guess you get a douche kebab pass. That's fine.
It's not even her birthday.
That's not even your birthday. You must be so entitled you get to do whatever you want all the time.
You want to talk about things that happen all the time. On the 9 pages of Chapter 15, there are 25 laughs, smiles, snorts, etc.
Yes.
If you have to relay to your reader all of the times something is supposed to be funny, providing a goddamn laugh track to your own novel, it's because you haven't done it correctly.
From 302. I've never had a night like that with Melvin. I never had dates like these with Melvin. I never felt a shred of this with Melvin.
You never got 6 years of your life back with Melvin either, you dumb son of a bitch.
Seriously? What was I doing with Melvin? Well, apparently we're incapable of making an adult decision, aren't we? We're just going to be satisfied with that. That's fine. There's no worry there. I'm glad we could just run off of whatever's nice and new. That's fun.
Speaking of nice and new, we have this nice... Oh, I'm sorry, were you done with that?
No, at this point I realize I'm literally just flipping through this and looking at random notes and being like, well, this pissed me off. Let me talk about that.
Yeah. Speaking of nice and new, the nice and new... it's not a subgenre, but the nice new cliche, we'll say, of putting music in things. This was not started by Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was certainly revolutionized by Guardians of the Galaxy. The thing about that movie that made it so great with the music is the music played into the movie. Not only that, the music was in the movie for a reason. His mother had gifted him that music, and that was all he had to hang on to of her.
It was a plot point.
There's a lot of music in this.
A lot.
Now, here we go. Let me just lay something on you that you might not have noticed because it's easy to read over. 292 and 293. We get, while this cover band is in England for some reason playing 90s, or is this France? They're in France, right? Where the hell are they here?
At this point?
I don't have the wherewithal to be a rich white woman because I wouldn't know where I was at any given moment. I think they're in France. They're someplace.
They're in France.
And there's a cover band playing 90s American music for some reason because the author needed it. I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. You know what that's from?
Yes, I do.
It's Green Day.
Yes.
On the kissing page to that, we have all the small things, truth care, truth brings. You know what that's from?
I do.
Sum 41, right? Is it Sum 41?
It's not all Sum 41.
Who is it?
Good try, though. All the small things?
Yeah.
It's Blink 182.
Blink 182. It's a number. It's a stupid name and a number. It is a proto-hipster band and a number. So, whatever.
I like it.
But, in the intervening time, we get this exchange. Yellow Submarine. The room falls into mellow side-to-side sway as they sing along. We join them. Hey, hey, he replies. You almost kissed me during the song, I tease softly. Pilot's eyebrows come down comically. And you pulled away. My heart jumps into my throat. So I did. Affirmative. My mouth dries up with all my heart in there. We rotate silently for a stretch of lyrics before I tell him I got scared. Pilot's thoughtful as he draws close. Do you know what's missing there?
What's missing there?
Lyrics from the Yellow Submarine. We get the fact that it's playing, but we have no lyrics. Do you know why?
Why's that?
Because the Beatles' estate would be in that ass. You were able to give Blink 182 and Green Day a couple bucks and include their lyrics. Not the Beatles, baby. But do you know the most damning part about this?
What is that?
Is it this one? Silence of the Lambs includes an intertextual reference as well.
Cash for Your Trash by Fats Waller. Copyright 1942, Warner Chappell Music.
That is not an unusual way of doing it. There is also, I believe, a reference in Hannibal where Hannibal misconstrues the lines of a poem so that they better fall into what it is he's talking about. The lines from Swinging on a Star on page 531 are from Swinging on a Star. It's basically a thank you. The lines from Dante's sonnet, oh, maybe it's not this one. So there is in one of Thomas Harris's novels, I believe it's Red Dragon maybe, Hannibal messes up a line from a poem. They apologize to the author of that poem in the beginning.
Okay.
Because it was done on purpose,
okay.
But this isn't the line that you had intended. Either way, all of the things that are referenced in these novels are talked about up front. There's a little thank you.
Do we have that in this?
Did you notice? Is there?
Is there?
Go ahead and check.
I'll check.
Recheck my work.
No.
Maybe I missed it. There doesn't appear to be a goddamn thing.
No. Oh, there's a little lovely letter and an author's note that I didn't read. Again, but better as fiction, but inspired by my own experiences.
No shit.
Look at that. No, there's no credit.
No, I didn't read that letter from the author. Perhaps it's in there. But I didn't notice a thank you to any of the artists that appear, whose lyrics appear in this novel.
While you were focusing on the lyrics of 292 and 293, I was focusing on the writing. Because I would like to give you these 6 gems. Well, I'll give you 5 gems. 5 gems from this here. Let's dance. I talk-yell. I yell-sing dramatically. Back onto the dance floor. Hop-skipping. And flail-dance. Hot garbage.
Flail-dancing.
Hot garbage. I have never talk-yelled, yell-singed, or hop-skipped, flail-danced.
If you picked the right word, you wouldn't have to hyphenate 2 others.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
299, however, I would like to point this little gem of the imaginative writing out. I step out of the pants, still wearing my army boots. In a novel containing time travel, this is the least realistic part.
That's fair.
You're not stepping out of any pair of pants, still wearing a pair of goddamn army boots.
That's absolutely fair. That's a good point.
That is the least realistic part of this novel.
I'm glad that's what you picked up on. 300 pages in here, that's what sets you off.
Okay. So if you want to talk about that, during this sex scene, at the beginning of the sex scene, we're outside the room on the wall, right?
Yes.
And her legs are somehow mysteriously wrapped around him. She doesn't know how they got there.
It's magic.
So she is pressed between Pilot and the wall. They go into the room. She is in the bathroom, seated on the sink. They decide that's not romantic enough. They decide to head into the shower. So we have, at this point, the wall, the sink, the shower. He pushes some hair out of his face. We're getting a bed, he says. I raise my eyebrows. Where will we find this mystical bed? Lamppost? You mean to tell me you planted the romance of Lamppost earlier and you never thought to insert that here when you're talking about physical hallmarks of where you're going to find something, of where you're having this magical, mystical sex scene where you don't even have the agency to understand how your legs wrapped around a guy, and you don't think to reinsert your lamppost joke there?
Would have been a good moment for it, wouldn't it? From 313, I swallow, tamping down a sudden urge to cry, yeah, I guess I just don't trust notebooks with my thoughts anymore. Pilot frowns, dragging a finger delicately from my temple to my chin. When did this happen? I watch the sky. Sometime that year, someone got a hold of one of my notebooks and read it. He squeezes my hand. Shit, that's horrible. I'm sorry. It's totally cool that, you later kidnap and essentially raped her boyfriend. But she read your notebook, albeit. How dare she?
That you left in the middle of a room
That
anyway.
you left in the open room. She must have deserved it. You're not the victim.
Start that over again?
I swallowed, tamping down a sudden urge to cry. Yeah.
That's enough. It's funny because on 306, she starts with this quote. I swallow. Yeah, we already got that scene. This is 3 times now in this one reading where we've had swallow quotes.
Thirsty, clearly.
She's the swallow narrator.
Anyway. Adrian, do you have anything else you really want to hit on
yes.
this week? Lay it on me.
323. I sob breathe. Again, a hyphenated word. Here is hurting me, pilot. I can't choose us because I need to choose me. I'm not ready for this. Here, I'm still in school and I'm still dependent. I can't break from my shit path. But in 2017, maybe I can do something. Maybe I can do something on the wing. I have some money saved and I'll break up with Melvin and start over or something. I can figure something out there. From whence comes this spastic performance? This is in the middle of them being in love. B, you're getting 6 years of life back. You absolute dunce. If this is your prerogative, and you obviously don't care about Pilot, just start living that life. She doesn't. She has to go and start living that life because the button doesn't work.
Oh, how tragic. But see, that's the case here. Going back in time, she has some money saved. She has this safe spot here with Melvin. She can break up with him and cut it on her own. Here, she would actually have to work for that. She would actually have to cut her own. Granted, we take out completely the fact that she's time traveled. Hop out to Vegas, place a bet on something you know is going to pay out. You got money. You can do whatever you want at this point. But that's not important.
Well,
that's
there's another little bit about that that we can get to in a moment. But you started that with in the future she's got money, right? I want to give you this quote from 332. This is her when she's trying to figure out what she's going to do. To be safe, I mentioned that I'm running low on money for food in an email to my parents. They kindly transfer over a small cushion.
A small cushion. Don't worry, I notated it as well. I have never once been a recipient of a small cushion. You only use the word a small cushion if you are absolutely wealthy and have no idea how money works.
Yeah,
I set it all aside for meals, by the way. Note the entire rest of the book when they're going out and doing things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Which carries on to, she writes this article titled, The Top 25 Things to Cram into Your London Study Abroad Experience Before You Go Bankrupt. Don't you mean before Daddy stops sending money?
Aww.
Don't you mean before you've spent all of someone else's cash? Don't you mean before they realize that you're just wasting their money and running away?
It's an entire novel about a protagonist who tries to be the victim. She wants to be the victim the entire time. She's a good person because she tells you that, but she's the victim in every situation.
Which is rewarded because on that same page, 345, that article that she wrote is published and we get this exchange. Tracy, this is my piece, I yelp toward the front desk. She smiles at me. It is. It's up, I squeak. Wendy said she didn't say when it would be. It's up. Surprise. Congratulations, she cheers. Congratulations, Shane, Donna shouts from across the room. Congratulations, Jamie, George, Declan, and Janet all echo after her. Wendy's door is open and she emerges from her office to lean against the door frame. In a sleek, teal power suit, looking apparently exactly like Hillary Clinton. I watch her, still frozen with delight, by my table. Good morning, Shane, Wendy greets. Congratulations on being our first intern to get a piece published in Pact. Donna swoops in from her seat as Wendy strides over to me. Power walking, no doubt. Hey, she says more quietly. I'm really proud of you. We're all taking you out to drinks later, so don't make other plans. She grins before walking back into her office. This is just a very powerful... all the power on the page here...
that good, huh?
It's very sweet This is
Adrian-
awful.
Adrian, you've been published before, haven't you?
Yeah.
Were you aware that you were going to be published before it was released?
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh, well, she works at the magazine, and
Yeah.
she isn't aware that she's being published. She's never been published. That's not how it
In
works.
fairness, she does not work at the magazine. She gets everyone tea.
She gets everyone tea. But you would think maybe during her 8-hour day of getting tea, she might notice this. That's not how it works. We've both
No.
been published. It's not how it works.
No.
This is not a surprise, and nobody goes to take you out for drinks.
No.
Not a person.
No.
Not a-
I have two more things.
Carry on.
This from page 358. If my parents throw me out, what will I do? What if they won't pay for me to go back to school? What am I going to do? Maybe I won't get a degree, or I'll go to a community college.
God, no.
Jesus Christ, princess. If you stay here and go back, you'll end up with my life. Which I thought was bad enough. But the next paragraph is this. I don't know what happens now. I don't want to live in this world where I've proved them right. I'm not good enough. Obviously. I do know I can be successful. I do know I can be a successful gastroenterologist. I've got 8 more interviews lined up for residency. My grades kicked ass. And with pilot, maybe Babe's right. She doesn't know the whole story, but maybe the healthy thing to do is move on. It'll be easier if I do move on, if I don't remember this. Thinking of this lesser life, where she would be forced to pay her way through school and maybe even have to go to community college.
My God.
The last line is this. Disappointment swells in my chest. I blow out breath after breath trying to dispel it. You might have to earn something on your own, princess. That's life. Buck up.
You make me so happy.
What a terrible, terrible, terrible protagonist, especially to be subjecting to the YA crowd. Not all of the YA crowd. Some of the YA crowd isn't dependent on YA literature and can read it with irony. But the people who are stuck with YA because there is a certain level of development necessary to move past one. Look, I'm not even saying age-wise. YA helped me at a time when I was not a good reader, but I was a 25-year-old man.
Okay.
For someone without the tools to really decipher for themselves, to make irony where perhaps it is not written, what a terrible thing to do to them.
Ironically enough, I ever told you, I was accepted to go to University of Missouri.
Who are you?
I was accepted to go to Mizzou. You know why I didn't?
Money?
Couldn't afford it.
Yep.
And Mom and Dad, I said, hey, we'll help you where you can, but you're going to have to do that, man. I can't afford that, and I didn't want the debt, so I went to a smaller school.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
I paid my way through community college for 5 years to get a 2-year degree. That's how you have to do things when you're forced into community college. The last point I have here. Shane at one point flips out and breaks her computer. Remember that?
I do.
What's her computer named?
Sawyer.
After what?
Lost character.
Not Tom Sawyer.
Not Tom Sawyer, no. It's about a lost character.
Still, Tom Sawyer is the only literature in this entire thing, and it's dead.
Aw, look at you go. Are you done? Is that a pin drop? A book drop?
It's a pilot throw.
It's a pilot throw. So,
These are pilots, by the way.
I'm so proud of you.
Pilot G2s.
Don't worry.
Best pin on the market.
Don't worry. We'll go back and we'll get some more. It's fine.
Thank you, Daddy.
You're welcome.
Will you buy me the pretty colored ones?
Any color you want. Anyone.
They've got this light blue color that's really nice.
Absolutely.
I use it for my writing goals.
So, this went a little longer than expected.
It did.
But there were some points here that needed to be made.
They did.
And we will be back next week with a full review of Again But Better by Christine Riccio. It is our standard review here on Strip Cover Lit. We will have 3 good things, 3 bad things, favorite quotes. We'll see how that goes. A full literary analysis, recommendations, and reviews based on the novel Again But Better by Christine Riccio. Please join us next week for that fun show. That's going to be a good time. I'm excited.
It will probably run long as well.
Oh boy, I'm so excited. And if this is your first time here on Strip Cover Lit, we do this
I'm so excited. Can't hide it.
Thank you, Shatner.
You know, I want you.
I gave up writing Shatner 90 pages in because my hand got tired.
You have to.
You have to. Otherwise, it's all Shatner. But if this is your first time joining us here on Strip Cover Lit, we do this every single day. We have a video every single day in the year of 2019, and we will continue to do so with actual works of literature. But that's fine.
We're not always this angry.
We're not always this angry. Sometimes we have nice things to say about the author when they deserve it. But if you do like this kind of thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you can continue to watch these videos along with us as we create them. Make sure you leave us a comment down in the section below. Honestly, I've been surprised by the comments. I figured we were going to get slaughtered.
I thought we were going to get roasted for this. I thought we were going to be toasted.
But apparently we're saying things that people agree with, so isn't that something? Isn't that something?
For once in our channel's history.
It's fine. And if you'd like to help us create more great content like this here on Strip Cover Lit, there is a link, as always, to our Patreon to be found in the description below.